नृसिंहं भीषणं भद्रं मृत्युं नमाम्यहम् उग्रं वीरं महाविष्णुं ज्वलन्तं सर्वतोमुखम् नृसिंहं भीषणं भद्रं मृत्युं नमाम्यहम् उग्रं वीरं महाविष्णुं ज्वलन्तम्।
Hello, everybody. I know it's the middle of the night. There's nobody watching. I don't blame you. But I just had to talk about what is going on in the world and felt the need to be able to do something. I can't ever remember in my entire life feeling so motivated and infuriated and at the same time powerless over what I perceive to be tremendous evil that is being done on the world. So, today we are going to talk about the avatar of Vishnu, the fierce form of Vishnu that incarnates to destroy corruption and evil, and that is the avatar of Narasimha. Narasimha means man-lion, and he is easily the fiercest form of Vishnu there is. And so what we're going to be doing later, as you have seen in my most recent video talking about the lunar eclipse that is coming on the 19th of this month. Now we're just entering November where I'm at. During that time, before that time, I will share with you a ritual which I am putting together. And we are going to go to spiritual war. And we are going to use everything in our power to destroy the horrible oppression that is going on across the world. And I am going to be incorporating a Narasimha mantra. And so I thought we would talk about Narasimha, the myth surrounding Narasimha, and the characters involved and how it relates to what's happening right now and what we can do to fix it, or at least do what we can to help. So there is a lot of rage in the world, and there's a lot of what the worst thing you can do to an angry person is bottle them up. When an angry person feels incapacitated and is incapable of moving or is not allowed to speak, the rage just increases, it intensifies. When you've got a pot that's boiling on the stove, you don't then clamp down the lid, to make the lid tighter, because then you'll have an explosion. At some point, the pressure will build to such a degree that it's going to explode. And unfortunately, that is where we're at. When you have, and I'm here talking on YouTube, and I can't even talk freely on YouTube, because if I do, I can get shut down. So by the way, before we go any further, I have two other channels where I do speak freely without any censorship, and one of them is on bitshoot.com, and of course look for Thunder Wizard DOTCOM on that. And the other one is on Odyssey.com, and again look for Thunder Wizard DOTCOM. The Odyssey.com I like, but it can be glitchy. So I upload to both in case one of them doesn't work. You can go to the other one. So let's get back to the myth at hand, Narasimha. So Narasimha, I think, is very appropriate because Narasimha is the soul. So Vishnu, the god Vishnu, is an aspect of the soul. In Hindu mythology, there are there's a trinity of most powerful gods that are seen as the Trinity, and those gods are Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. Brahma represents the navel center, which has to do with creation, has to do with this physical world, creating all of the things in the physical world. Brahma is the creator. Shiva represents the third eye. He is called the destroyer, but that really means he actually purifies everything into something spiritual. And then you have Vishnu. Vishnu is in the heart center, and he represents the soul, the human soul. That's why of all of the gods in the Hindu pantheon, only Vishnu incarnates, because human beings are souls incarnated in physical bodies. And so Vishnu represents your human experience. So worshiping Vishnu will give you an experience of your soul that has the space and the protection to live a physical life. This is the truly spiritual human experience, which is Vishnu. Rama is Vishnu. What's the other one? Krishna is Vishnu. And one of the other most revered is Narasimha. Narasimha only incarnates for a brief moment because he's so fierce. He's so deadly and so fierce and so full of rage. He, not unlike Rama and Krishna, who live on the earth and have these long lives on the earth, Narasimha just appears, literally appears out of nowhere to defeat the corruption. And specifically, we're talking about the kind of governmental corruption, oppression, where you have a government or a governmental leader, anything associated with that seeks to not only conquer the whole world, that seeks to have all of the riches and all of the money and all of the resources, but also seeks to suppress and control people. And when you have that scenario, then Narasimha is a deity that you can call upon to protect you. So we're going to talk about that. I'm talking about this right now. It's 8 o'clock at night. It's the middle of the night everywhere else. I'm talking about this because I cannot contain my righteous fury. Now, let me be clear. I'm not like personally angry. I'm not walking around mad at other people. It's bothering me so much that I'm literally grinding my teeth in my sleep. And so in order for me to just be able to be comfortable in my own skin, I have to do something. So I've decided to create these rituals that we're going to be talking about, which are going to be involving these things here that you're seeing on the side. What you're looking at here is, this one here is I should go get the link for that while we're doing that. So that those of you who aren't following me or aren't subscribed to me, you will have access to something that you can do, even if it's just for the time being. Because there has been no time in my life that I've ever seen the need for spiritual warfare against earthly corruption. I've never seen anything like what we're experiencing right now. So I am going to get that link for you right now. So let me see. We want to do the Immortals. Let's just see what happens when I go that. There it is. Okay, so there's... All right, we'll just we'll do this one. So this is the one that you're looking at on the screen, but I'm going to give you the link so that you can go and practice it yourself, if for nothing else, to keep you connected and safe. So let me get, where am I? I am here. So here's that link. This is the Summoning Immortals Qigong. And you're seeing me do that right here. Am I pointing in the right direction? Yeah. This is what I'm doing right here. So if you're new to the channel, you have that link. You can go learn that. That is an extremely high level practice to connect you directly and your heart directly to the Ascended Masters. What you're looking at here is, in my experience, and I can only talk from my experience, the most powerful, energetic form that is used to fight demons with your bare hands. It's obviously a very efficient martial art as well, but in its higher form, it's used, they go to haunted places and they do these forms and they fight demons with their bare hands. We're going to be using this power. You can go to thunderwizard.com to learn the lightning Qigong, which is also connected to both of these things, and this right here. And we are going to go to war. So between now and the 19th of November, which is when we're going to see this lunar eclipse, I'm going to be getting you prepared mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and I'm going to be giving you tools. If you are one of my practitioners, you're subscribed or doing any of these things, then I'm going to give you instruction on how to use your very powerful tools for that. But wherever you are, whether you're just somebody who watches my channel or you work with me directly, we are all going to go to war. So I want you to summon all of your friends, bring them to the channel so that they can do this as well. Nobody has to be subscribed to anything. We need people to go to spiritual war. And I'm being clear, spiritual warfare. I'm not calling for any kind of political action or anything physical. This is purely done on a spiritual level. Nobody has to know about it. All right? So, having said that, let's take a look at Narasimha, the man-lion who comes to Earth to fight against physical, specifically political oppressors of humankind. So, all right, let me just look at some notes here before I go any further. So, here's the story. The story is that there's this king. This king's name is Hiranyakashipu. I know, that sounds funny in English. His name is Hiranyakashipu. Let me write this down for you. Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu means loves gold. Something like that. He is a lover of gold. Now, he is a king. He's actually the ruler of the world. He rules the entire world in this myth. And the way that he got to where he was is that I think it was his brother. His brother was the demon ruler of the world, and one of the avatars of Vishnu came and defeated and killed him. So Hiranyakashipu took this very personally, and he became very angry at Vishnu. Vishnu, again, is the soul of the universe. This represents somebody who hates their own soul. Represents somebody who hates everything spiritual and hates everything that within them is spiritual. Yet Hiranyakashipu is actually a black magician. So it's not that he doesn't accept that there is a spiritual world out there. He uses the spiritual world to gain his power. And so he is furious with Vishnu, And at the same time, he's frightened of Vishnu because of Vishnu's power to be able to destroy him. So, Hiranyakashipu does some spiritual austerities. And he worships Brahma, the creator. So remember, Brahma creates the physical world. So of the three deities, the one that is most associated with money, physical power, physical possessions, riches, this would be Brahma. So he worships Brahma, and the kind of worship that he does, I don't know what it is, but it's something like he spends 10,000 years, standing on one finger or something like that. I don't know exactly what he does. I don't remember that, but that's the kind of austerities that they do in these kinds of scenarios. By the way, if you ever go to India, I never have, but I've seen them. You will see, if you go to certain places, you will see, among other things, you will see people who have their arm up in the air all the time. That no matter where they go, their arm is up in the air. If they're lying down, their arm is above them. Whatever they're doing, their arm is always above them like this. And if you watch them the entire day, they will never bring the hand down, ever. And if you've ever tried that, it becomes extremely difficult. And these people will do things like make a year vow where they never let their hand down, ever, for any reason. This is the kind of thing we're talking about. These are the kinds of spiritual practices that the asuras, which actually are not demons, they're actually a form of demigod. These are the kinds of things that they do, and they'll do this for 10,000 years. Lock themselves up in a cave for 10,000 years and hold their hand up like this and chant a mantra continuously for 10,000 years. And then boom, Brahma has to appear. I mean, he can't not after that. And so he asked for a boon. First I believe he asked for immortality, to which Brahma denied him that, said, I can't give you that. But instead, he then asks Brahma, I want to be able to be unable to be killed by anything human or animal. I don't want to be killed inside a building or outside of a building. I don't want to be killed at night or during the day. I don't want to be killed when it's raining. He goes all these things. He's trying to figure out every possible scenario that he could be killed. And he lists all these different ways, and it's always these two black and white things, which is important, because this is how these people think. These narcissistic, sociopathic people always think in black and white terms. So Brahma, Brahma's Brahma, so Brahma can see right through that and knows, oh, okay, yeah, no, we can, if we need to, we can take care of this guy. So Brahma says, sure. You won't be killed whether it's night or day. You won't be killed inside or outside. You won't be killed, this or that. And he lists all the things. And so Hiranyakashipu now believes the lover of gold, the person who loves gold, now believes that he is absolutely, completely bulletproof. Nothing can harm him. Nobody can harm him. And he starts on this campaign of world domination and terrorizing his anybody, any of his subjects. Now, during all this time, he's got this wife, which I need to do more research on her, but she apparently is a very spiritual person. So she's worshiping Vishnu. So Hiranyakashipu has impregnated her, and she's carrying his son. I believe it's his son. Anyway, she's pregnant with somebody. And while she's pregnant, she is chanting these chants to Vishnu. And she is talking with gurus, and gurus are teaching her about the scriptures and teaching her about the soul and about Vishnu. So the baby inside, which is a baby demon, a baby asura, he is being empowered with all of this worship and chanting to Vishnu. So when he's born as a fully realized saint. and he's a very religious boy. Now, Hiranyakashipu, because he is a narcissist and a sociopath, he demands that everybody worship him as God. And if they don't, he kills them. So he has his son, right, who is the heir to his throne. And he wants his son to worship him as God. And the son, Prahalad is his name. Prahalad says to his father, he says, Dad, I love you and I honor you as my father. I do anything you say. You are the highest being on this earth, but I cannot worship you because only Vishnu is worthy of worship. And this infuriates Hiranyakashipu, and he proceeds to try and kill his son in many different ways. He tries to silence him. He tries to get him. The thing he can't stand is his speech. When he speaks about Vishnu and he speaks his devotion to Vishnu, Hiranyakashipu cannot tolerate that, and he must silence him. And this reminds me of what is happening right now. We have, here, let me give you some background. Some of you may be able to relate. The frustration that I'm feeling is something I've never felt anything like this before. As you know, I have to be very careful about what I say on my channel, because if I tell the truth, they'll shut me down. It's not that I don't tell the truth. If I talk about certain subjects openly, they'll shut me down. And they've made it very clear. They've even said exactly what I have to do. They say that if I say anything that goes against, and I won't say what it is, but an independent regulatory agency, if I say anything that goes against the recommendations of this independent regulatory agency, they will shut me down. It doesn't matter if what I say is factually true and I can prove it and back it up with facts. They don't care about the facts. I just can't say what they don't want me to say. And it reminds me of this. Prahalad can't even say, I worship Vishnu. He can't say that in front of his father. His father becomes so irate that he seeks to kill him, to silence him. He cannot speak the truth. Doesn't matter that he says, Dad, I love you and I worship you as my father. I obey you. I honor you. I will never do or say anything against you or to harm you, but I cannot disavow my soul. I cannot disavow the truth. I cannot disavow Vishnu. I cannot do it. And so Hiranyakashipu then tries to kill Prahalad in a bunch of really horrific ways. Tries to burn him to death. He tries to trample him with elephants. I can't remember all the other ways he tries to kill his son. Now, because the son is a complete devotee of Vishnu, Vishnu, of course, protects him. This is what I've been telling you guys all along. That if you follow your soul desire and you do the one thing that gives you joy, if you do that one thing that gives you joy, even if your parents reject you, your church rejects you, society rejects you, your wife, your husband, your friends, your teachers, your priests, if everybody rejects you and you do that one thing that makes your soul happy, you will be bulletproof. Nothing can touch you. I've experienced it, I've lived it, I've proven it. And I guarantee you, if you do that, you will have nothing to worry about. You may not have a penny to your name, but you will be perfectly healthy, warm, you will be happy. There are people in this world who have millions of dollars, who are surrounded by wealth, who are dying of illnesses they can't even name, who are empty inside, full of horrific pain and sadness and misery. There's no amount of money that can fill them. And these are the people who are currently seeking to destroy the world. And I say that without any hyperbole. They are seeking to destroy this world. They have more money than they can even imagine. They can't even possibly imagine the amount of money that they have, the amount of power. These people have the ability through all kinds of different tentacles to make public policy in independent nations all over the world. These people have the power to control this platform that I'm on now, as well as every single news station, newspaper in existence. The amount of power and money that these people have is beyond anybody, even their imagination, and it's still not enough for them. And they're worse than, we could go back to previous times in history. We could talk about the Nazis, we could talk about Stalin, we could talk about Mao, we can talk about whomever. Those people were filled with hate. These people are sociopaths. They are even beyond that. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is apathy. The opposite of love is not caring one way or another. The opposite of love is when everything that isn't you is of no value. In order to hate somebody, you have to first love them. So Hitler, here's something you don't know. Hitler actually secretly loved Jewish people. But because he was so damaged, he could only express that with his hatred. He hated them because he secretly loved them. He secretly wanted their approval. That's because he walked in on his mom having an affair with the Jewish butcher. He never got that out of his head. To him, his mom was stolen by that Jewish guy. So that's why he hated Jews so much. He had hatred. So he still had something in him that wanted to even look like love. These people who are running the world don't even have hatred within them. They are worse than machines. They are pure, utter sociopaths. That's why they're so dangerous. So Hiranyakashipu cannot tolerate anybody speaking about Vishnu. He can't tolerate. He must control what you. If he can't control what you think, he's going to control what you say. And when you do this, when you prevent people from speaking their truth, it creates a pressure within them. It creates a rage within them. That the more you seek to suppress them, the stronger the rage becomes, and it will explode. And I believe this is going to happen very soon. Based on astrology, I talked about it in the last one. I think it's coming very soon. I do not wish any negativity on anything or anybody. I'm not advocating any of that. But, I just know how I feel. And I haven't gotten the worst of it. I work for myself. So I don't have to work for anybody. I don't have to follow any rules. There are people out there that are losing their entire livelihoods. They haven't done anything. They haven't done anything wrong. And they can't work. They haven't done anything wrong and they can't feed their kids. People are trying to protect their kids from being poisoned. The rage must be unbelievable. And on top of that, there's no outlet. There's no place where they can voice their rage because they're silenced. In democratic countries, they are silenced. And then there's this whole population of people who believe what they're being told. People who have bought into the reptilian anointing, who themselves have partaken of the reptilian anointing, who believe that what they're being told is protecting them. And those of us who don't buy into it, we're the ones that are causing them danger. And if you've tried talking with these people, I've got a couple of people in my life who I'm talking to and trying to show them, with love, when they ask, here's what's really going on. And when you introduce some truth, backed by facts, figures, statistics, and it's frightening to them, it is amazing how fast they go from being intelligent, rational people, and then the gaslighting comes, and then the cavalier, gaslighting and talking down to you, the demeaning. And then I find myself feeling furious. Not because of myself, but because somebody is willing to talk themselves into walking into the furnace. It would be like in World War II, it would be like, one of the people in the camps going, yeah, no, I'm going to walk in that it's just a shower. I need a shower. It's going to be so nice to walk in that shower. And, and stop telling me it's a gas chamber. It's not a gas chamber. It's a shower. I'm going to get a nice, clean, happy shower. They keep telling me, look, I've got the little, the government pamphlet. In fact, I just saw it on the news. They showed some people, they came out and they were so happy and clean. And I'm going to be one of them. Stop telling me that it's a gas chamber. It's like that. It's so frustrating and it's so infuriating. People are dying every day. And it's so infuriating when you feel helpless. And I feel that way. I don't know how you feel, but I feel helpless. And it's not okay with me. Every single person that is dying could live. And they're being prevented from living. That's murder in my book. Right, so this is Hiranyakashipu, a sociopathic narcissist who cannot tolerate anybody speaking their truth. And if you do, he will smash you. He will deny you, even his own son. So Hiranyakashipu, finally, he's furious with his son Prahalad. And he says to him, stop saying that Vishnu is God. Where is Vishnu? I don't see him anywhere. Remember, Vishnu is the soul. Remember, Vishnu is inside of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu himself has a soul within him. He is denying the existence of his own soul. The thought of him having a soul within himself is infuriating to him. He can't tolerate that because then he has to realize that he must worship his own spiritual nature. He must accept that he who loves gold must accept that there is something beyond that. He's so full of rage because no matter how much power, no matter how much gold, no matter how much possessions he accumulates, it doesn't satisfy him. And it frightens him to let go of that control. So his son, whom he projects onto, because every father, when they look at their son, they see themselves. And you can tell the evolution of the father if the father wants to empower the son to be themselves, or if the father criticizes the son and says, you can't do this and you can't do that, then you know that that father hates himself. If he's abusive to the son, it means that he's abusive to himself. He hates himself. So when he sees Prahalad worshiping Vishnu, he hates that within himself. That's what he wants more than anything, is to have that connection. to infinity, but he knows he would have to be willing to let go of all of his power, all of his riches, all of his wealth, and he can't tolerate that. So he tries to silence, he tries to squeeze the life out of his own son, because he can't tolerate that in his face all the time. So after trying to kill his son numerous times, he asks Prahalad, he says, where is Vishnu? Is he in this pillar? And he speaks of, he's in his giant mansion which has pillars in it. And he says, is he in this pillar? And Prahalad says, yes, he's in that pillar. He's in the tiniest twig. He's in everything. I.e., he's inside you, Dad. To which Hiranyakashipu just loses his mind. We're going to enter into a period of time when the lunar eclipse comes. It's going to be connected to the star Al-Ghul, which the symbolism is Medusa's severed head. We talked about that in a previous video. And it is a very intense time, and times like this, there's oftentimes political violence, there's often actual beheadings, but it represents people literally losing their mind with rage. And there is so much rage built up that people don't even know about. Like the friends that I have who are part of the narrative, part of the mainstream narrative, when I try and explain to them, you do not understand. There are millions of people out there who are so infuriated and so full of rage. They say, I don't see that. And I say, you have no idea what's going on in the streets. No, that's not. They don't realize the rage that is brewing amongst the common folk that are being silenced. So when this time period hits, when you have the lunar eclipse, which means that the moon goes dark, which means that the sun is not shining on the moon. The moon is the mind. The moon reflects the soul. The mind represents your emotional reflection of your spiritual essence. That goes dark. People lose their mind. The only thing that will be left is the rage. And people will act on that. What I want to do with this upcoming ritual is to help us channel that rage in a positive spiritual light, which does mean spiritual warfare. But what we need is for people to wake up. We need for people who are hypnotized into the narrative to do what just happened to me 2 months ago and wake up, because I was part of that. I was part of the whole narrative, and if you were to tell me what I'm telling you now, I would say, man, you really need to go and relax a little bit. That's just not accurate at all. They really don't believe. The guy I talked to really just doesn't think anything that I'm saying is true. Just doesn't believe any of it. He says, I don't know where you're getting that. Just doesn't believe it. So we need to empower ourselves so that our rage becomes focused on awakening those who have been hypnotized. So back to the story. We have Hiranyakashipu railing against his son, who he cannot kill. He cannot silence him. He cannot control his spiritual devotion to his own soul. And he says in desperation, where is Vishnu? Where is the soul? Where is it? Is it in this pillar right there? And Prahalad says, yes, he's in that pillar. He's in the smallest twig. And this infuriates Hiranyakashipu, and he takes his mace. He's big, strong. He's the biggest demon in the world. He's strong. Nobody can beat him. He's the strongest warrior in existence. And he takes his mace and he crashes it into the pillar. The pillar breaks open and out comes Narasimha. What you can't see here, because I purposely didn't put it on there because it's grotesque, but Narasimha has Hiranyakashipu on his lap, and with his claws he's tearing open his abdomen. In his rage, he is tearing open his abdomen, and in some pictures he's actually got his entrails around his neck, and he's covered with blood and with guts, and he's so enraged, he's tearing away at Hiranyakashipu's navel center. Now that's important. He doesn't tear at his neck, he doesn't tear at his heart, he tears at his navel center. The navel center is where we have our unconscious mind. This is where we have all of our unresolved programming from childhood. And one of the things that's so frustrating about people that I want to talk to is that it is so clear to me that they are so unconsciously attached to a narrative that they believe keeps them safe, and they don't realize that it's really about mommy and daddy. That their insistence on denying rationality and truth for nonsense that's killing them is because they still have unresolved mommy and daddy issues. And so these are held within the navel center, where the unconscious mind is. So Narasimha tearing open the navel center, enragefully pulling it out, means that he actually, because Narasimha is the soul, and the soul loves you, the soul will, in order to save your life, the soul will destroy your worldview narrative, and it will be a death to you, and it will destroy your psyche. Because that's where the psyche is. The psyche's in the navel. Narasimha comes bursting out of a pillar. The pillar represents the spinal column. The spinal column is the Kundalini. The Kundalini is the energy of the refined psyche. It's psychological energy. People think it's spiritual energy, it's soul energy. It's not. Kundalini is the psyche, the human psyche, as it purifies itself. When you die, your Kundalini will not come with you. Your soul is not Kundalini. We use this stuff here is pure soul energy, if you want to know what that feels like. Practice this stuff, you'll tap into what the soul energy feels like. Kundalini is the psyche. This is why East Indian religions, where the discovery of Kundalini occurred, this is why they get so deep into the philosophy of the soul. This is why Buddha, goes beyond the soul and is wrapped up in the psyche. That's why the Tibetan Buddhists have these long diatribes about, does the soul exist, the nature of the self versus the no self. This is all the psyche. The spirit looks at that and says, I have no idea what you're talking about. But the psyche battles with all of this, the Kundalini. So the pillar represents the spinal column, and Narasimha bursting out from the pillar represents the psyche of the individual seeking to become fully conscious and aware, which means the destruction of the false narrative that you've been programmed by your parents, by your school, by your priest, by your next door neighbor, the collective, to be part of society. He destroys that. And it is a death. You must go through a death. And so we must go to war with the narrative so that we can release, at least give people the option to have the moment of clarity to decide whether or not they want to walk away from that narrative and die to what they believe the world is. I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, What happened a little over 2 months ago, the awareness that when I realized what was going on, it absolutely devastated me. It was an absolute death on the deepest psychological level. So I don't enjoy it. I don't want to put anybody through that, but that's the only thing that's left. It's the only thing that's keeping us in this false reality. And it is the only thing that is giving the reptilian horde, the reptilian overlords, it's the only thing that's giving them power, is our compliance to their narrative. When we reject their narrative, they will lose all power. But we have to find them in between that place of dualism. Remember that Hiranyakashipu, he asked Brahma, I want to be able to not be killed. I don't want anybody to be able to kill me, whether it's day or night, inside or outside, by any animal or any human. And by that, he thinks that he's gotten all the possibilities. And Narasimha emerges. And Narasimha is the man lion. He's not human and he's not an animal. He's both. He is killed at twilight. So it's not daylight and it's not nighttime. He's killed on the porch in the doorway of his home. So he's not killed outside or inside. And this is what the narcissist misses. When he creates the narrative, he always creates it in black and white terms. And what he misses is the inclusion of both light and dark, black and white, positive and negative. And that, it is in the space between the two extremes that the truth can get in and tear it open. So that means we need to be willing to do that to ourselves. We need to be willing to die, continuously die to our attachment, to our delusions, to our emotional and psychological attachments. We must be willing, I keep saying this to one of my friends, you must be willing to let go of your view of reality. Now, in his mind, I know what he says. He thinks that I'm saying to him that I have to go and just only watch, the videos that I give him, and that that I'm the one that's been, indoctrinated in a cult. I know that that's what he hears whenever I say that. So you've got to be willing to die to your view of reality. To him, he says he thinks I'm saying you've got to be willing to deny reality. This is not what I'm saying. You've got to be willing to die to your attachment, to your belief in what you think reality is. Get in between the duality, in between the extremes. Because that's where the soul lives. The soul in a human body is in a physical body, but itself is not physical. And here what you see me doing over here is the spirit fighting. This practice, and over here, the thunderwizard.com, these practices, what they do, and you can see, if you look at my hands over here, you'll see you're dealing with opposites, the merging of opposites. The power that is in between my palms, because I'm going in between the opposites and opening up the portals from the right and the left, the male and the female, the yin and the yang. This is the power of the soul. And each one of these movements does certain, it's like pulling a lever. And the movements themselves are a science that opens up meridians that goes directly to the energy that surrounds the soul, which is the lightning. It's the most powerful spiritual energy that you can tap into. And it is meant to stay inert and dormant unless you know the tools, the specific things to do to open that up. And when you do, That lightning energy then comes through your body, out your hands, and that's why these guys were able to fight demons with their bare hands. Can't fight demons with your bare hands with any other practice. There's no other spiritual practice in the world that does that. They can fight demons, but they do it with talismans, they do it with chants, they do it with rituals, they call down an angel or some... No. What if you had the power in your own bare hands to be able to destroy demons with your hands? We live in that time where we have to have people who have that power to be able to use the lightning. And if you know anything about lightning, I know a little bit. I'm not a scientist, so I certainly don't know a hell of a lot. But whether this is true or not, because the science is continuously evolving, this is what I remember hearing probably 30 years ago. Is that and if you've ever been next to a lightning strike, which I have, like I've had lightning strike right next to me. It was one of the most, it's incredibly, I mean, you can't hear for a long time. It's really, really intense. But what you'll hear is a snap and then a boom. You'll hear a click and then a boom. The click is actually energy coming up from the earth, which is the feminine. The feminine seeks out the masculine. It seeks out the lightning. It's asking for the lightning. The lightning has to travel down that electrical tendril that's sent up from the earth. And that's the click. It's energy. The earth sends electrical energy up, and then the lightning is pulled to that and then follows that down into the earth, and then you hear a boom. But what I've heard is that the boom is actually the molecules where the lightning was collapsing in on itself. I have no idea if that's true or not. But definitely the picture of that in my mind is exactly what the lightning does. It goes in between the dualist extremes, cracks it open. And that's what the thunder is. That's why the thunder it destroys. This is why Thor destroys evil spirits. He destroys the giants. He destroys the demons. He destroys the trolls, because he himself has this ability. He is the lightning power. He is the protector of the soul. This is why anybody who claims to follow Thor and claims to be a racist does not understand that Thor protects all humans. Any racist out there who puts a swastika, which is actually one of the symbols of Indra, one of the symbols of Thor. Anybody who puts a Thor's hammer, or wears, especially if they tattoo this symbol on their body, they have no idea. If they're racist, they have no idea that what they're asking for is to be purified of their racist tendencies. Either in this life or the next, they will suffer. They will suffer. That's why I don't have any tattoos on me. Because as much as I want to be the righteous, good person, I know I'm not perfect. And I sure as hell am not going to put a symbol on my body that's going to ask for some karmic repayment in the future. I don't want that. I have enough respect, and I have enough humility. Some of you, maybe you don't think I have a lot. I have enough humility to realize the last thing I want to do is present myself as sinless to the thunderbolt carrier. It's the last thing anybody wants to do. And so we're going to be employing this to whatever degree you want. If you're brand new to the channel, you can do this, which I've given you the link for. If you're subscribed to the thunderwizard.com lightning qigong, you can be doing those practices, and I'll be giving specific rituals depending on what level you're at. And then, of course, if you're at this level, you already know, you can be employing that. It will be incredibly powerful. And we're going to go after them. We're going to do it for 9 days. We're going to also be using the runes. I'm going to be giving you a rune ritual and to be able to invoke the power of specific runes. And it will be focused on spiritual warfare. And it will be over a course of 9 days. We have 2 weeks in between the lunar eclipse, which will call upon this, which will be conjunct with the fixed star Al Ghul, which is the head of the Medusa, the severed head of the Medusa. We will have 2 weeks between that and a solar eclipse. And what happens in between, if I understand right, and the astrologers that I've been listening to, if they're correct, that window between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse, the energy that's generated there is going to determine what's going to happen afterwards. And it may be, it's possible that we may see the complete destruction of the reptilian elite. We may see it. It may be as a result of this powerful time. So I want to call upon those of you who feel disenfranchised, you feel silenced, you feel rageful. You're full of rage, you're being silenced. You, like me, it is very difficult for me to watch innocent people being killed. Very, very hard for me to tolerate. And every time we hear on the news the number of people who've died as a result of this plague, unnecessarily, I am filled with sadness and rage and a feeling of impotence because it's unnecessary. So if you want to fight with me in this battle, we'll be talking more about it. And obviously, I'll give you the complete ritual information before we get to the 19th. If you're not a subscriber, I will put it on the free channel. If you are a subscriber, I will give you a specific video telling you how to use these practices that you already have. If you're one of these people, I'll give you a video for that as well. For those of you who aren't, you're just somebody coming on the channel. You've got this practice that you can do, which I've given you a link towards. And I will give each of you, whatever level you're at, I'll tell you exactly what to do. And when we do this together, hopefully we can accomplish something. I sure hope so. In order to free people's minds. All right, so I'm happy to take questions if there are any. It doesn't look like it. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello. In case you're not familiar with it, I have a page, astrology.thunderwizard.com. And if you go there, you will see Vincent's happy little face there. And then you can click on his link and it'll take you to his page, which is vincent.thunderwizard.com. You can go directly there and you can get a reading from him. And he's a very good astrologer. He knows more than I do. So if you really have a question I can't answer, he might be able to answer it for you. All right, so what else? Vincent.thunderwizard.com has an honest feeling. He says, I'm grateful for the awareness of my self-criticism that doing the Narasimha mantra has given me. Very powerful stuff. Yes, indeed. And we will be doing a Narasimha mantra as well. We will be calling upon his power to bring his righteous rage to release people from the grip of the Hiranyakashipus of the world. Okay, so I don't see any more questions here. All right, that's it. So I guess we're done for today. If you want, feel free to go and research Narasimha and think about some of the things that we've been talking about. and get yourself prepared to meet him. I don't worship Narasimha very often because I respect his power. Some people can worship him and get away with it. I worship deities like that, and it tends to be, very tends to make me very angry. So I try to stay away from that. But I'm already angry and furious and sad and frustrated and overwhelmed and grinding my teeth in my sleep. So I'm going to be asking for him to take my rage and channel it in a spiritual fashion to free the innocent people of the world, because there's a lot of innocent people still yet that can be saved from this horrific time that we're still in. Anything else? What else do I want to say? Nothing else. I don't see any more questions here, so we'll just leave it at that. All right, my friends, thank you for showing up in the middle of the night. I wish you all the best. I will see you all very soon.